Hi, this is Hank Hanegraaff, president of the Christian Research Institute and host of the Bible Answer Man broadcast with another Hank Unplugged short. I just returned from a 35-minute walk. It is definitely brisk in Charlotte, North Carolina today. But as I was walking, I couldn't help but think about how important it is for all of us to learn discernment skills. Just recently, I was watching television, and I heard Jesse Watters on Fox News talk about how Putin is getting his information on conducting his war from shamans. And as I listened to that particular quote-unquote news broadcast, it became very, very clear that what is reported has not been confirmed. So it's speculation. And whatever you might think about Vladimir Putin and the Russia war against Ukraine, you have to exercise discernment skills when you listen to news reports about it. In this context, not all that long ago, I heard Pat Robertson, who is the founder of one of the largest television networks that is Christian in the world, say that the war in the Ukraine is a portend, as it were, to the end of history, that Russia is about to invade Israel. Now, why? Because Rosh sounds very much like Russia, and Ezekiel 38 and 39 most certainly have to do with Russia and its invasion of Israel in the 21st century. Of course, if you know anything at all about the art and science of biblical interpretation, you know that Ezekiel's prophecy has nothing whatsoever, except in principle, nothing whatsoever to do with what's going on in our historical context. We have to be mindful of the fact that Ezekiel was prophesying from the dusty environs of a refugee camp in the south of Babylon near the river Cherbar. And from there, he looks into the eastern sky and he longs for the glory of the Lord to return to a temple that had vanished into the rocks that once surrounded it. In other words, he was yearning for the promise of a temple whose glory would exceed even that of Solomon's temple. So in the spirit, he looks forward to events that would take place a generation later, a time when Zerubbabel would rebuild the glorious temple, when Ezra would rebuild the spiritual condition of the returning exiles, when Nehemiah would challenge his fellow countrymen to arise and rebuild the shattered wall of Jerusalem. My point is simply this: we cannot presume that Ezekiel was longing for a third or even a fourth temple when a second temple had not as yet arisen from the ashes. So again, my point in this Hank Unplugged short is that we have to learn discernment skills. We have to learn to read the Bible for all its substantial worth. We can't buy into modern day sensationalism, sophistry, script torture. I mean, in this regard, by the way, thinking of sensationalism, we had a sitting member of Congress talking about the fact that because of climate change, the world would essentially be a non-functioning place, I think she said, in less than 12 years, and that was a long time ago. So based on what she said, we probably have 7, 8, maybe 9 years left, maybe even less, unless we buy electric cars. Well, again, this kind of sophistry and sensationalism needs to be tested. And the only way you can test it is if you learn to discern, which is, well, in a sense, somewhat pointing towards our organization, and I don't mean to do that inordinately, but we are a discernment ministry, and we teach people discernment skills. That's why we do the Christian Research Journal. It's why we do our Hank Unplugged podcast. It's why we do what we do. So discernment is in short supply, in shorter supply than energy. So we need to learn to exercise discernment in an age in which I think Pascal's words ring as true as in any age that preceded it. And that is, truth is so obscure in these times and falsehood so established that unless you love truth, you cannot know it. Thanks for tuning in.